Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Strange Days True Crime, where we look at stories of unsolved disappearances, murders, and unidentified in the hopes that one day they'll be solved. The strange unsolved disappearance of Tammy Russell Kingery. On April 13th of 1977, Carolyn and Philip Russell welcomed their daughter Tamara. Tamara had two sisters, Amy, who was her younger sister, and Rebecca, who was her older sister, and the three sisters were close growing up in Crown Point, Northwest Indiana. Tamara, who went by Tammy, would share a bedroom with her sisters when they were younger because they had to. But as the sisters got older, they still shared a bedroom, not because they had to, but because they wanted to. Tammy was described as being kind and sweet. Tammy's mother said that Tammy loved to play with dolls when she was a little girl. After Tammy graduated from high school, she began work at a local drugstore, and it would be here that Tammy would meet Park Kingery. The pair hit it off and began dating, and not long after, Tammy and Park were engaged. After Tammy and Park were married, they decided to move to Edgefield County, South Carolina, where they would live in a house they had built in a wooded area. Tammy and Park would have 3 children together, their daughter Caitlin, son Carter, and another son named Cameron. Tammy had always wanted to be a mother ever since she was a little girl. Tammy's mother and father found out she was pregnant. They decided to move to be closer to Tammy. Tammy would also go to nursing school and would get her nursing degree in 2001. Tammy would start working as a neonatal nurse, but soon began work as a nurse at a local nursing home. Tammy's daughter Caitlin stated that her mother ensured that she had a great childhood, filled with many wonderful memories of gardening, playing in the yard, and the many road trips they would take, which included special stops in the mountains. On September 20th of 2014, Tammy headed into work for her shift, which started at 7 a.m. like any other day. But after only being at work for about an hour, Tammy began to feel sick and would call her husband Park to come pick her up. Co-workers had stated that Tammy began to take her own blood pressure while at work, and every time she did so, it would go up. They also stated that Tammy seemed oddly agitated as well, and even raised her voice at one point. Not long after, Park arrived at Tammy's work and would take her home, leaving Tammy's car at her work. Once Park had dropped Tammy off at their home on Mealing Road, he called her mother as Tammy and Park's oldest son Carter was going to mow Tammy's mother's lawn. Park would drop off his son Carter at Tammy's mother's house and would take the youngest, Cameron, to run some errands and would then be back to pick up Carter. Park would return home after running his errands and picking up Carter from Tammy's mother's home, which was only 10 minutes away from Tammy and Park's home. Upon returning home, Park had stated that the doors were locked, and once inside the home he found a note from Tammy stating, "Went for a walk, be back soon, love you." Park found this odd, as she would normally text him. Tammy left behind her purse, cell phone, keys, and wallet. However, when Tammy didn't return, Park began to worry, so he set out to look for Tammy on his own and would return to her work to see if she was there, but she was not. Park then set out to check her normal walking paths while driving around. Park soon realized he needed help and contacted the local sheriff's office for help in locating Tammy around 2 p.m. that day. The night before Tammy vanished, her daughter Caitlin had stated that she had spent the night at a friend's house just down the street, and the next morning she received a text message from her dad, Park, saying, "Come home now, your mom is missing." Caitlin called her father right away and stated that he answered and frantically told her what was happening and that the police were on their way to the house. Park had asked Caitlin to drive around to look for Tammy. During this time, Caitlin had stated that she saw a motorcycle with a woman riding on the back, which she stated appeared to be her mother. Caitlin and her friend tried to follow the bike, but they lost it. A neighbor also stated that they had heard a vehicle with a loud engine, possibly a motorbike, leaving the Kingery home shortly after Park had left with his 2 sons after dropping Tammy off at their home. The sheriff's office would begin searching and would bring in helicopters to aid in the search for Tammy. Park would contact Tammy's family to notify them of her disappearance. Investigators found it strange that the house was locked, but Tammy's keys were inside the home, and the door could only be locked from the outside. Tammy had simply vanished. Tammy's family was concerned for her well-being, as Tammy had suffered from depression, which she had been taking medication for, and Tammy's husband Park had stated that Tammy had tried to commit suicide about a week before she had disappeared, and they were worried that she may have gone off and hurt herself, but there was no trace of Tammy. Tammy's family also stated that in early September of that year, Tammy had begun to feel unwell, which led her to taking a few days off from work, which was unusual. Tammy also began going to bed early as soon as she was home from work. On one night, Tammy could not sleep and began sweating profusely to the point where she had to change her clothes. Tammy told her sisters about the incident, and they had suggested that Tammy go see a doctor. Tammy agreed and booked an appointment for September 21st. However, Tammy would disappear before making it to her appointment. Several searches were held in the Merriweather area, in which the Sheriff's Department, along with family and friends, the fire department, volunteers, and search dogs set out to look for Tammy or anything that might tell them where she could be. During the search, Tammy's oldest sister remembers a strong smell coming from a shack that was near the Kingery family home. Upon searching, they discovered a dead dog tied to a trash can. They also found a bag tied up, which contained a bowl, sponge, and gloves, but nothing came of this finding. Rebecca believes that the finding could have been looked at more closely, but never was. Police had stated that they had already discovered those items along with the dog, but did not feel it was connected to Tammy. Tammy's family had stated that when they brought up concerns, it seemed as though nothing was done, and Tammy's mother had stated that investigators never spoke with her or asked her any questions about Tammy. The family was also concerned when Park had done a lie detector test and the results were inconclusive. However, Park was seen on CCTV footage with his youngest son when running errands. When investigators went through Tammy's phone, they found 2 sets of previously deleted messages between 2 different men that were stated to be romantic in nature. However, both men were ruled out as having anything to do with Tammy's disappearance. Investigators stated that the note left behind was in fact wrote by Tammy. Tammy and Park's marriage had become strained after the birth of their second son, and it was stated that Tammy and Park had considered getting a divorce, and that this, along with her depression, may have led to extramarital affairs, but this could not be confirmed. In the beginning of the investigation, police didn't believe anyone had harmed Tammy. They thought she just walked off and either hurt herself or began a new life. But investigators now believe that may not have been the case, and stated that Tammy's case should have been looked at not only as a missing persons, but also as a homicide, and that Tammy's case was suspicious from day one. Tammy's family strongly believe that she would never just leave her children and family. Tammy's family has set up a Facebook page called Search for Tammy Russell Kingery. At the time of Tammy's disappearance, she was 37 years old, with hazel eyes and blonde hair, standing 5 foot 4 inches, weighing 125 pounds. Tammy has scars on both sides of her upper chest, a scar on her left wrist, and her ears are pierced. Tammy was last seen wearing a light-colored shirt and dark pants. If you have any information on Tammy's case, please contact the Edgefield County Sheriff's Office at 803-637-5337 or 803-278-1625, and please help bring Tammy home. Well, that's it for this case. Please share, like, and subscribe for more stories of these strange days we live in.